Today's a little bit of a frustrating event. A while back, as you know, this has already been fixed once. So what had happened was, sunk the truck, yada yada yada, and it destroyed the hub. And this is an 87, so it's kind of difficult to get parts for these trucks. So I took it down to my local chain shop, and this would be, I will never do business with them again after all the crap that's been going on with this. So they said that it got so hot it welded the bearings to the spindle shaft and all that jazz and all that. And no, they wanted $400 for a new to get a used hub, because they don't make them new because of the age of the vehicle. So I said, well, I'm going to Denver, and I will see if I can leave a link to their website. But they have all of it's just Toyota parts, old Toyotas, and you name it, they've got it pretty much. So that's in Denver, and I knew I was going, so I said, well, let me see. I will go to Denver and pick up a hub for like $50. I called them on the phone. 50 ended up being 60 because it's independent independent, not solid axle. So it ended up being $60 versus the $300, almost $400 just for that. The total job ended up costing me like $500. I would have usually done it myself, but time constraints with school, so I said go ahead and do it. And then I got my bill back, and there was $100 extra floating on there, and they never called me to tell me about it. They did what I assumed was a good job, and they had to replace the rotor because it welded together, but they didn't tell me that. They didn't call me. They said they called me, and I have a voicemail on my phone that just says, come pick up your truck, it's ready. And so anyways, I got home, and then I went back and I wanted to see proof, and they were kind of upset a little bit about it, but it was shattered, so I said, okay, I get that. And that was about 3 weeks ago. Maybe about 3 weeks ago. So then I went driving to school back and forth, and I hear this whirling noise on the other side. So I get into the truck and I turn the axle shafts, and this is in the free position, and they're locked. So now, on top of all of that, I got to go back and take this apart because this was not assembled correctly. And when I called them on the phone, they said you need to quit driving through water. Didn't drive through any water since they fixed it. It rained, I drive it in the rain and stuff. It has nothing to do with the fact, and when I pull it apart, you'll see that it's just a spring with something that locks the hub to the axle. It's just that simple. So it has nothing to do with water, because if it was froze up, then maybe water got in there. But it turns freely. I don't think it was assembled correctly. When they replaced the rotor, which they did not tell me about, but I understand why they did it. This brake squeaks so bad now, and it would never squeak before. So I don't know what is going on with that. It's not bugging me that much. But so I got a squeaky brake, and this is assembled correctly. So I've been essentially driving this truck now for 3 weeks on the highway to school with this one stuck locked, regardless of free or locked, which is really bad for the differential, because the four-wheel drive systems on these trucks, you're not supposed to leave them in four-wheel like locked over 45. I drive 65, almost 70 to school, and the other side's not locked, so I'm spinning half the differential significantly faster than it was designed to do. So now I hope I don't have differential damage, and I'm not going to take it back for them to screw with it, because I've done this enough times. I can do it relatively quickly. So let's see exactly what's going on in here. I'm kind of fed up with dealing with it, and I'm just not going to go back to that shop to do business anymore. It's funny, because when I did all that damage, when I went four-wheeling, this rim got replaced, and I bought a brand new rim, had brand new lug nuts. And you know, I'm missing a lug nut, and these are the old lug nuts, so they decided to keep the lug nuts for themselves and not put it on. mean, this shop just gets me so irritated, because I took it in for AC work a while back because it wasn't doing the cold thing, and there's a separate video on that a little bit ago that I did on that, and they said they're not really sure what it is, and they kind of just wanted to start replacing parts. They said, well, it could be the evaporator, but we don't know. So I didn't pay them to do it. I am not going to pay them to replace something if you don't know for sure that that's the problem, because that's a lot of money. And the evaporator is under the dash, and they wanted like $500 to do it. So I decided to do it myself. I mean, I've just had, and this was the final straw for me, and I wasn't really out anything on the AC. I was out for the diagnostic, which was really not really a diagnostic, because they basically came to me and said, well, we could try replacing some parts. You know, that's very unprofessional. You don't just start replacing stuff. You got to know what it is. That's the problem before you just start yanking parts. So I just ended up paying them a $30 diagnostic fee or whatever it was, and I took the truck home, replaced the evaporator, and what I thought was the problem was the expansion valve, because I didn't see a pressure differential, which I don't know why they couldn't have seen that as well. But anyways, let's see what we got under here. See, oh my goodness, this is not even attached. They didn't even assemble this right. There is supposed to be a spring. Now I'm gonna have to get a screwdriver. This is not assembled correctly. I don't know what the heck they're doing. They didn't even, you gotta tuck the spring under here and stuff. This is assembled backwards too. So, let's go get a screwdriver and yeah, this looks real water damaged. Not really. Looks like they just didn't assemble the hub correctly. And you know how I know that is because I assembled this wrong once. But I checked my work and went back and fixed it. Alright. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go grab some lunch and just reassemble this. Nothing looks damaged. It just doesn't look like they assembled it the right way. Alright guys, I will be back momentarily. So, this piece has to, this piece has a spring on the bottom. Gotta find the beginning of it, which is there. Threads into this groove right here. That's what's supposed to pull this back. This was all just set in here without this spring, which is really important because that's when you turn it back, it pulls this out and unlocks it. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple step to miss. Alright, this is how it's supposed to look. Hold on. So, you got to put the spring inside of here in the groove and you turn it in, and then these little tabs have to go underneath this spring. That way it's held together and all of that sits on a spring. You got to make sure that that is in the free position. They're getting paid to do this, and I don't get it. Put it in the free position, you turn it down, you put it between the grooves, and there you go. That's it. That's the whole thing, and that way this piece is connected, so when you turn it to free, it pulls it out of the hub so that it's not locked. You don't just throw all the springs. So that really, really irritated me, and then I'm going to grease it, put it back together, and close out the video. Alright guys, everything is put put back together, and there's one more step that I always like to do to make sure it's unlocking and locking like it's supposed to. Is it's free right now. See how it moves free? It's not locked up or anything. Then simply lock the hub and now it's locked. And then unlock it, make sure one more time that it frees up and it's unlocked again. This is something that the person that did the work should have double checked and made sure everything was working as it should, and it did not happen. So quick closeout. I don't like being angry and getting all upset, but this is like my 10th problem with this place, and if it comes up I might put the name of the place that did the work, but I usually like doing my own work, but with school I ran out of time. So something like that, it should not happen. It's so easy to do, straightforward. It can be tricky, but if I'm paying somebody to rebuild the hub, the locking part of the hub is like the easiest part of that whole thing, besides taking the tire off. So for that reason, I'm done giving them any kind of business. I always seems to be something with them. So if you've had any stories like that, leave them down in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit the notifications, and subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice day.